So one of the things that we got a chance to do was to go in and really have a conversation about what is procedural justice. And so there are four main tenets. I know that you're all looking at me, but we also have it on the walls for you to be able to see. And those four principles are fair in process, transparent in action, opportunity for voice, and impartial in decision making. As we think about interactions between the community and law enforcement, these four are lifted up in a way so that always dignity can be given and received by both officers and community members. And so then, I, as one of the trainers, would go in and I would teach our officers that the space that we're starting in has history. So we ask the question, how do we get here? How do we get to this place where there's so much tension all around our country? Now, of course, I can't do the entire training now, so I'll just do some highlights, but I wanted to show kind of how deeply invested our police department here in San Jose has been and what we've seen has been a great practice. One of the things that we recognize is that all of this is information that has been moving and has been happening for a long time. That we have a lot of situations and instances where we can see that law enforcement has not always been used and has not always been seen in a positive light, especially for some of our more minority and communities of color. They have been not trusted, they have been used in negative ways, and we can see this. So we take them through slides like the ones that you see on here. I know from this vantage point, many of you may not be able to recognize the picture, but if we go to the next slide, we have one that shows the Zoot Suit riots. And this happened in Southern California. The challenge that was there when the Chicano community had to raise up because law enforcement showed up in a way that wasn't fair to them. Next, we have law enforcement. Now, this happens outside of our country. And as we know, many of our residents are not just from here. We have folks from all around the world. And this happens in Vietnam when there's a police chief that winds up killing an individual right in public view. Next, we have Stonewall, which happens in New York, and this is one of the first uprisings for the LGBTQ community, and all that happens there, along with Birmingham, Alabama, which is the next slide. And so here we've seen that there have been a number of places by which law enforcement has been enacted in ways that has been detrimental to the community. And so when we begin policing, we have to understand our history. That our history doesn't start with law enforcement at a wonderful place, but it starts with all of these stories, all of this trauma, and some of these difficulties. And although, as I say to all of our officers and those that I got a chance to train, although you did not personally create much of this history, the truth is that you police within it. Inside this context, it is very important for us to understand the trauma that has happened. And as we understand this, this gives us a better way to move forward. So now, everything that you do can either affirm the past or it can inform our future. It can create a very different way for us to learn to live together. Because in truth be told, really, sometimes the identity of much of our law enforcement has been stolen. And I would do a poll here to find out how many of you have ever had identity theft or somebody ever stole your credit card. I won't have you lift your hands, but you know how difficult that is when somebody else is able to benefit from your identity, but the truth is you're left with the bill. Well, the truth is this has happened too. And there are a lot of ways that we want to be able to move forward. And how we do that is we do that by building up the community's bank account. And so this is an easy way and for us to think about how we develop healthy practices is all of us have a bank account, the community and law enforcement. And our interactions can either make deposits or they can make withdrawals. And these deposits and withdrawals will make sure that the way in which we deal with one another could be wonderful or not. However, for many communities, the bank is already overdrawn. After seeing numbers of things on the news, our own personal experiences, we have to build into these. And so the question goes out, every interaction, every opportunity, are you looking to make a deposit or withdrawal? Now, I'll just say this, all of you have been in relationships, all of you know people, and we inadvertently, by accident, bump into one another and have to do things that will make withdrawals. If we're not intentional about making those deposits, then we often have these bank accounts that go into the deficit. So the push is always, can we start making better deposits? And I believe procedural justice training, as JPD has done, these community meetings, as we get a chance to dialogue, all of these are helping to build up the bank account.